When people talk about power in negotiation, they often imagine something absolute. The large company, the well-known brand, the senior manager, the expert with the knowledge, the landlord with the contract. Power feels fixed and one-sided, and because it feels fixed, it feels scary. In practice, negotiation power is rarely absolute. It is usually situational and closely linked to dependence. A simple way to think about it is this: power grows when the other side needs you more than you need them, or when they believe they do. That distinction matters because many people underestimate their own power. They focus on what the other side has: reputation, authority, expertise, resources, and overlook what they themselves can bring to the table: alternatives, time, access, specialist knowledge, internal support, or simply the ability to walk away. This misunderstanding shows up in predictable places. Large companies and brands often create a strong power effect before any negotiation has even started. A good example is negotiating with a major automobile OEM. The brand alone signals strength. Their market share suggests they can replace suppliers easily, and you often face negotiators who are extremely well trained and process driven. Even before any numbers are discussed, many people feel they are the smaller party and start negotiating defensively. In my own experience with an OEM, the power was not only in the purchasing volume, it was expressed through the setup of the interaction. Meetings happened at times that suited them. The rhythm and agenda were driven by their process. You could easily find yourself responding to what they wanted next, staying busy and adapting continuously, especially when they were in a strong buying position with alternatives. None of this is dramatic or aggressive on the surface, but it shapes behavior and decision making. Experts can create the same effect: a confident specialist seller, a consultant, a technical authority, especially when the other person feels they lack knowledge. Hierarchy has a similar impact. When someone sits higher in an organization, people assume their influence automatically determines the outcome. Cross-cultural settings can amplify this further, particularly in cultures with higher power distance, where status and rank shape communication much more strongly. What tends to happen when someone feels powerless is remarkably consistent. People give in too early, not because the deal is good, but because they want the pressure to stop. They become emotional, cautious, or overly compliant. They ask for less than they actually want. Sometimes they withdraw completely, mentally or literally, and avoid the negotiation rather than face it. You see the same pattern in everyday situations as well. Returning an item in a shop, dealing with a confident salesperson, talking to a landlord, or challenging a process that seems non-negotiable. Often the other side is not even exerting power actively. The perception does the work. Dependence is also created by many things other than money. Time pressure creates dependence, lack of alternatives creates dependence, internal politics, reputation concerns, approval requirements, and fear of escalation can all create dependence, even when there is no formal hierarchy in play. And dependence is rarely symmetrical. One side may have more urgency, more risk, or more constraints, and that imbalance often matters more than job title. This is also why power can shift during a negotiation. A brand looks dominant until delivery becomes uncertain. An expert looks unshakable until their recommendation has to survive internal scrutiny. A landlord looks powerful until vacancy risk or legal constraints become relevant. Power is not just something one party has. It is often something both parties experience differently, depending on timing and context. Seen this way, power and dependence are not abstract concepts. They explain why people behave differently in negotiations even when the topic is the same, and why some negotiations feel intimidating before they even begin. Once you recognize that power is rarely fixed and that dependence is often the real driver, you start reading the situation more clearly, and you stop mistaking brand, hierarchy, or confidence for absolute control.